Hi, this is Elizabeth from Felted Sky, and these are the instructions for your Ornament Mini Kit. So here's the ball that will become the ornament, and then we have the wool. This is our Felter's palette. It's a wool batting, and here on the label is the color name. So you might want to make note of that in case you ever want to order these same colors again. So to prepare the wool, just find the end, and we want to unroll it and get it ready to work with. So there was the end, and then just unfold. You might have two pieces, which is fine. All right, so let's unroll the green color also. There's the edges. They can be a little hard to find sometimes. And the fibers are going lengthwise in this direction. So when you tear into the wool, you want to do it in the direction the fibers are going. Like that, it tears very easily. So you don't want to try and tear into it going opposite of the fibers. That will be much more difficult. That's just a little tip about the wool. And then this is the string that we'll use at the end. And this is the needle that we'll use to put the string through the ornament at the end. And then these are your felting needles. So this is our yellow, which is a 40 triangle. And here's some tips about how to hold the needle. So I recommend putting the top of the needle kind of in the crook of your pointer finger with your middle finger and thumb down on the shaft of the needle about halfway, and then some people also put their ring finger down there like that. So this way, when you're poking and felting, you support the needle more. So I don't recommend holding it at the top like that. I see a lot of new felters do that, but do try to find a comfortable needle grip for you where you have at least one or two fingers down on the shaft of the needle. That should give you more control and hopefully help you to break less needles. All right, so the ornament ball starts out very squishy. It's not all the way felted yet. It's been partially felted, kind of to get it started. So to do more felting, you're just going to be stabbing the needle into the ball. And I'm stabbing pretty far in at this point when it's still squishy and we want to firm it up more and sculpt it. You want to be really pushing the needle well into the ball. So I can feel on my finger that's down on the shaft of the needle, I can feel it hitting the ball. So I know I'm going in probably about halfway down the needle shaft. So this is needle felting. It's just poking, just stabbing away, and the stabbing action of the needle is going to firm up and felt the ball further. So wherever you poke, it's going to firm up more and condense the wool there. The needle has little barbs on it. Here, I'm going to speed up. So the little notches on the needle are helping to tangle the wool fibers together, and that's what's doing the felting. So just make sure you keep your other hand and fingers well out of the way of the needle. Accidental pokes definitely hurt, and you don't want to injure your fingers. So whatever direction we're angling the needle, that's the direction it's going to push the wool and condense it down. So this part, you could go for a while doing this to make the ball more firm before we start, or you can leave it a little more squishy and we'll need to firm up the ball more at the end. That's kind of a personal preference. I'm going to speed up again here. And this ball is still fairly squishy, but for the sake of the video, we might go ahead and do our design. So you could continue poking the ball to firm it up more first. You could poke it for another 10 minutes or so. But if you are also anxious to get started, we can firm it up at the end. So I'm going to pull a strip off of the green wool. something like that. You can try and keep it all connected, but it really will be okay even if you don't have this long of a piece. So now I'm kind of drafting it. That means gently pulling it to thin it out. So I want to make my line a little bit thinner than the piece I tore off. So I'm just going to gently pull and stretch until it's the thickness that I want, and then lay it around the ball. We're trying to go right in the middle, so kind of creating two halves. And now just poke on the wool and it's going to attach to the ball. So it's just going to felt right onto it. I like to do the edges first, so I'm kind of going in at an angle at that edge instead of straight up and down. I find that that helps me keep a very nice straight edge. So I do the edges first, and then I'll go back straight up and down with my needle, not at the angle, and make sure the rest of the line is well felted onto the ball. So now that I've done that part, I'm going to stretch a little bit more, and we want to just overlap the end. So I'll go ahead and poke down the end. And then just prepare the rest of your line and pull off the extra and overlap. Then you won't even really be able to see where the end was. So make sure it's still right in the middle of the ball, and then poke down just like we did before. You can take the tip of the needle and move the wool very gently into place and then poke. So you just have to be careful that you're not poking and trying to move wool at the same time, because you can snap off the tip of the needle pretty easily. So the needle needs to go in and out at the same angle, but you can very gently move wool into place with the tip of the needle and then continue poking. All right, so this line is looking pretty good. Here you see I can move the wool with the tip of that needle as I'm going along. Just do that kind of slowly and gently until you get the hang of it. All right, now we're gonna do another line around the ball. Now, if you happen to pull off your strip of wool and you end up with a little piece, you can still use it. So this we're putting at a perpendicular angle, making kind of a cross or an X, however you want to think about it. So if you end up with smaller pieces, that's fine. Just overlap the end and continue on. So it helps me to kind of hold and then pull. You'll get the hang of working with the wool the more you practice with it. So I've been felting for many years now, maybe around 10 years. And you'll get a feel for the wool as you use it more. All right, so I'm just going to keep poking on the line till this whole thing is well attached. So you don't want to see the little fuzzy parts anymore when it's on there good. It's pretty much all just felted down and not fuzzy anymore, smoother. All Alright, if you have a spot on your line that's thinner, you can fill in just by pulling off a little piece of wool and then put that in place and just poke it down right over top. If you get too much, you can pull it off. Even if you put something on at this point, even if you think it's pretty well on there, you can still pull it off and start again. Or fix a little area by pulling off something that you put on. If you put on a part of a line that doesn't look good, you can tear it off if it hasn't been too well felted on yet. Alright, so now we're going to put another line going diagonally now, intersecting those first two. So we're dividing this ball into 8 even segments. That's kind of how I think of this. So after this line, we've got one more still to do. So stretch and pull. And if you're feeling confident about your lines, you can skip ahead. You don't have to watch all of the video. But if you do want to keep watching, I will be showing the whole thing. At least for this line, we'll go ahead and finish this. I'm going to fill in with one more little piece, part of the line that was a little too thin. Alright, then I'm going to speed up the video for this last one since it's the same thing. Just getting in the last line. Okay, so that's what it looks like with all of the green lines in. Now we're ready to do the shapes in red. So it's kind of like a smooth diamond. So there's a point at the top and bottom, and then the shape is a little bit wider in the middle. So you want to pull off a piece of wool that is about the right shape and size, and then I added another piece to it to make it a little thicker. Sometimes you need 2 layers if it seems a little thin because you don't want to see the white through the red. So I'm going to first poke and get the top point. So you can see I'm moving the wool into place very gently with the needle. And I'll come down and do the point at the bottom. Then I'll go ahead and poke all over the rest of the red. So we want to leave some of that white showing. Try and make it as smooth and even as possible. You can see things are looking a little lumpy here because we didn't firm up our ball as much at the beginning. But now you can go over the white part, so anywhere it's puffed out, poke more on that part, and that'll smooth out the whole thing. All right, we'll do more of that at the end. Let me just show you the shape one more time. So I'm preparing the wool, trying to get it about the size and shape that I need first. You can take as long as you need to with that, and there's plenty of extra wool. If you do any that are not quite working out. So here's my point at the top and bottom, and then I'll get the edges, I'll pull them gently into place and then poke down. If you need to fill in, just pull off a little extra piece and overlap it, put it right where you need it. If you see any white showing through, you can add another layer. And if you need to pull off one of these shapes and start over, you can still pull it off at this point. Okay, so I'm going to do that all the way around the ball. I'll do that off camera and then bring it back to talk about the final shaping. So here's my ball all the way filled in, and it's still not looking too round. It needs a little extra shaping. So any of these white parts that are kind of puffed out, I'm going to poke more on those to flatten them out. So we want it nice and smooth and round all the way around the ball. And whatever direction you're poking with the needle, that's the direction the wool will move. So even at the top, I'm kind of wanting to move wool towards the center. So I'll even poke on my green lines some more. Thinking of round and smooth. I'm just going to keep poking whatever areas need it until the ball is nice and smooth and round as I can get it. So this will also help to firm it up more. By the end it won't be nearly as squishy, it will be fairly firm. Not completely hard, although you could felt it longer and get it to be very hard and durable. But it's just a decoration, so as long as it's firm and smooth and round, that's where we'll leave it. So it's starting to look better. I need to go around and do each segment. But hopefully you've seen how we're going to go about it. And I'm going to take care of the rest of this off camera. All right, so here's my ball now that I've worked on it more and gotten it to be pretty round and firm. Looking pretty good. So now it's time to put on the string. So here's the piece of string and the long needle. Get it threaded. I'm just going to leave a little tail. And you want to go in from the top. So whatever side looks to you like it should be the top, go in at the middle of the top down to the middle of the bottom. Try and get the needle to come out just there in the middle. And then I'm going to go back. We are leaving a tail on the other side. Now I'm going to go back through, leaving about a millimeter between where it came out and where I'm going to go back in. All right, so then pull the string so that it's even. Then I'm going to put a knot at the top. Okay, so now our ornament is on a string, all ready to hang. I hope you've enjoyed this project. If you want to check out our other supplies and kits, please visit us at feltedsky.com. And as always, happy felting!